This hoof is hiding an incredibly sore secret. You see, hidden within the heel bulb, there is a raging infection. You're watching the Hoof GP. From this angle, it's plain for us all to see. The fluid emerging from her heel bulb is a telltale sign that there is a very serious infection raging within that outer claw. Picking up the grinder, I know that this may aggravate her slightly. Working on a foot like this is always going to cause a bit of discomfort. Within the hoof capsule itself, the tissue is hugely inflamed, so even touching it is going to be uncomfortable. I take my grinder and try to balance both claws as well as I possibly can, aiming for 50-50 weight bearing. In other words, I want half of our weight to be on our outside claw and half of it to be on the inside. This is how we start every routine trim. And yes, I know this is not a routine trim, but it is how we start every single trim. Then we model out this area to avoid sole ulceration. That hemorrhaging or bruising you can see right now is the start of a sole ulcer, one of the most common problems you find in cows' feet. But we're not here for that ulcer, we're here for that massively inflamed heel and the infection that right now is hidden out of sight. We need to remove all of the overburdening hoof horn so that that infection can be allowed to be healed up and cured by the cow's immune system and any topical treatment we choose to use. At this point in the trim though, I've absolutely no idea what lies beneath this hoof horn. I take my time, taking small slithers of hoof horn, using my fingers to feel my way around the cow's hoof, trying to understand what is out of sight right now, calling on my knowledge of the hundreds of thousands of cows that I've trimmed before. I know it's inflamed, I know there's an infection, but right now, I truly don't know the full extent of it. This periopal horn, the hoof horn you find at the heel of a cow's hoof, is there for suspension. It's there for impact, which is why it's soft, flexible and pliable, but also why it's more difficult for me to cut. I can't slice through it like the harder hoof horn because it flexes away from the blade of my knife. Now we're starting to see where the problem is, but I still need to feel my way around the cow's foot to understand what's left to remove. Now it's been dried off, we can see the core of the problem. This is the heart of the infection, a heel ulcer, which has burst out, become infected, and caused digital dermatitis to be allowed into the hoof capsule itself, so that whole area is now being ravaged by infection. I need to remove even more hoof horn though. The ulceration that's beginning to form within the heart of the modelling area still needs to be deepened out if we want to make sure we absolutely avoid any further ulceration and therefore further pain. This cow is clearly going to need a block, so I start preparing the inner claw, ready for it to be applied. I still have work to do in the hoof, but the glue also needs time to cure. I've placed a nozzle in between the feet so that I can get right up in there with my knife and model out that axial wall as deeply as I possibly can. At this stage, I'm not actually sure whether or not there's an ulcer underneath this outer hemorrhaging, but I'm hoping there's not. With every swipe of the knife, I'm half expecting this bruising to disappear, to dissipate and come to nothing, but it just simply doesn't seem to be doing that, and I'm starting to worry that that infection isn't her only true problem. The problem isn't the bruised hoof horn, the problem is whatever was causing it, and that is what I've removed. An abundance of hoof horn and too much weight being on that area is what caused this heel ulcer and this sole ulceration to form. I've removed that excess hoof horn and I've transferred all of the weight onto that block so that sore outer claw will not materialise any further into an ulcer. That bruising will dissipate over the next couple of weeks and the heel ulcer and dermatitis surrounding it will be cleared up by the use of that salicylic acid, and this cow will be healed.